Explosions rocked multiple cities across Iran, including its capital, Tehran. Videos from Tehran show smoke. You see it here billowing over the city.
Many people see news about actions against Iran and immediately think, this is just like the Iraq War in 2003. Same excuses, same endless conflict.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
That concern is understandable after what happened back then, but the two situations are not the same. Here are the main differences, based on clear evidence from trusted international sources. In 2003, the U.S. claimed Iraq had weapons of mass destruction.
What you will see is an accumulation of facts and disturbing patterns of behavior. The facts in Iraq's behavior demonstrate that Saddam Hussein and his regime have made no effort to disarm as required by the international community. Indeed, the facts and Iraq's behavior show that Saddam Hussein and his regime are concealing their efforts to produce more weapons of mass destruction.
But after the invasion, inspectors found none. The intelligence was wrong. Today, the evidence on Iran's nuclear program comes from the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN's independent nuclear watchdog. In April 2021, Iran itself admitted it was enriching uranium to 60% purity, a level no civilian program needs. By mid-2025, the IAEA confirmed Iran had 440.9 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium, enough, by IAEA standards, for up to 10 nuclear weapons if enriched further.
In other news, the UN nuclear watchdog has reported that Iran has accelerated its enrichment of uranium to near weapons grade. Iran increased the purity to which it is refining uranium to 60% purity.
The nuclear material that had been produced at a very high level of enrichment, which is what you need in case you want to develop a nuclear weapon, is still there.
One, most notably, the inventory of enriched uranium at 60%, which is very close to the degree you need to make a bomb.
We've stated many times, my announcement doesn't matter. The Supreme Leader's policy and fatwa are doctrinally important. We are not looking for nuclear weapons at all.
The regime has repeatedly claimed Supreme Leader Khamenei issued a religious fatwa banning nuclear weapons. But this was never a fixed rule. Hassan Rouhani, who was Iran's chief nuclear negotiator, later admitted he personally invented the fatwa story in 2004 talks with Europe to create a better image. This is a clear example of taqiyya, religiously permitted deception that the Islamic Republic's ideology accepts as a legitimate tool when dealing with enemies.
Taqiyya is when you conceal the truth to protect yourself or to protect someone. And this was mentioned in the story of Ibrahim, because if he would have said the truth, they would have killed Ibrahim. If he would have said, I was the one that destroyed the idols, they would have killed him. So he did taqiyya. That's what the scholars say, especially in the madhab of Ahlul Bayt. Ammar ibn Yasir, when they took him and they tortured him and they said to him, do you believe in God? He said, no. When he came to Rasulullah, he said, Ya Rasulullah, I said it, but I swear I didn't mean it. So Allah says, this person who said what he said with his lips, وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ, he was in a state of taqiyya. Taqiyya is accepted. And our imams, the imams of Ahlul Bayt, have said taqiyya is a must in such circumstances.
It is the same pattern we saw with Ayatollah Khomeini himself. In Paris in late 1978, he told Western reporters again and again that he had no interest in power, that he would return to Qom and live as a simple religious leader.
I would not have any position in the future government as such, being the president or a prime minister. And my job is not to be as such. I will be some sort of supervising their activities. I will give them guidance. And if I see some deviation or some mistake, I will remind them how to correct it, give the general guidance.
You would be, in effect, the strong man of Iran.
به این ترتیب شما مرد قوی ایران خواهید بود.
اینطور فرض کنید.
You may assume so.
He also promised that women would be free to choose their own clothes and that the hijab would not be compulsory. And he said all political parties and groups would be able to operate freely. Yet weeks after the revolution, he became supreme leader. The regime made hijab mandatory for all women, and opposition parties were banned or their members executed and imprisoned.
نظر امام این نیست که بایستی حتما خونریزی انجام بگیره.
If a people are faced by an enemy who is an aggressor, they must stand against that aggressor to the end, even if it means bloodshed.
Who is your worst enemy, Mr. President?
دشمن اصلی ایران کیست؟
آمریکا.
America.
And Iran has broken its promises to the IAEA and the international community more than a dozen times since 2003, hiding facilities, exceeding enrichment limits, blocking inspectors, and stockpiling far more material than allowed. The IAEA has issued multiple censure resolutions, including in 2024 and June 2025. Iraq in 2003 meant a full-scale invasion with over 150,000 U.S. troops, the fall of Baghdad, then years of occupation and nation-building. The current actions against Iran are targeted strikes on nuclear sites like Natanz and Fordo, missile factories, and military bases. There is no large ground force, no occupation, and no plan to rebuild the country. This is about setting the nuclear program back, not endless war. Two regimes, different ideologies. Saddam Hussein ran a secular dictatorship centered on his own power and Arab nationalism. He never made death to America or death to Israel official state slogans. Iran's government since 1979 is built on revolutionary ideology that calls the U.S. the Great Satan and Israel the Little Satan. Death to America chants are part of official events. It has exported its ideas through Hezbollah, the Houthis, and other groups.
Khomeini wanted to unify Islamic groups throughout the Middle East.
One of the bedrocks of the Islamic Republic was not only the idea of a revolution within Iran, but the whole idea was to export this revolution.
Matthew Levitt is a former counterterrorism expert for the FBI, State Department, and U.S. Treasury, and is currently a fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy.
And so they looked first to countries where there are decent-sized Shia minorities.
One of these was Lebanon, where a conflict had broken out between Israel and Palestinian fighters.
There were secular Palestinian groups who were kicked out of Jordan and made their way to Lebanon and were using southern Lebanon as a launching pad to carry out attacks against Israel. Iran provided intelligence. It provided more arms. It provided funds. By 1982, Iran is sending people across Iraq and Syria to the Bekaa Valley, and they're establishing in a barracks there a training place in Lebanon.
And as resources poured in, these Shiite factions became more organized.
Originally, the idea was really just to create an umbrella for these groups, but really it ended up becoming a much more structured, hierarchical organization. The idea, as is made very, very clear in the open letter, that this new group, Hezbollah, takes direction from, pledges fealty to Iran, sees the supreme leader of Iran as their leader and the mouthpiece of God on earth.
In 1979, Iranian revolutionaries seized the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and held 52 Americans hostage for 444 days.
So it was November 4th, 1979, when the Islamic Republic of Iran stripped 52 Americans, their freedom, their dignity, and their pride.
52 hostages were held for 444 days in Iran from the end of 1979 until January 1981.
My father was William Q, and he was a hostage in Tehran. He was only supposed to be there for the weekend, and all hell broke loose.
Khamenei and other senior officials have repeatedly threatened the United States, with some openly stating they will turn the White House into a mosque. Unprovoked aggression and global reach. Inside Iran, the regime uses harsh repression.
There's a difference between relations between the Iranian people and the Iranian government. They're two totally different things.
The people of Iran look more towards Western culture as something that they are interested in and enjoy. The regime obviously is opposed to the influence of Western culture in Iran.
The younger generations are coming up, and they're not in the same mindset. They want more freedom, they want to be out in the world, and they're being taken backwards now instead of being able to move forward.
Amnesty International recorded 853 executions in 2023 and over 1,000 in 2025, plus more than 20,000 arrests after recent events. The pattern goes back decades.
Thank you again for having me on, Chris, to highlight what's going on in Iran. You did mention Majid Reza Rahnavard that was executed this morning in Tehran, unfortunately, just to show the cruelness and the inhumane, archaic nature of this regime. His mother was summoned to the jail to see him the night before, not realizing that he was going to be executed the next morning. Nobody had any idea. They even took two smiling pictures together that have been circulating on the internet, and she didn't realize that this was the last time that she was going to see her son. She went home, she received a call, the family received a call at 7 a.m. and they were just told, your son has been executed, we've already buried him, you can go over the site and find the body. And that's what they're doing to people. And as you said, they executed him publicly, hanging by a crane, and there's abhorrent, atrocious video footage of it that's been circulating on the internet that we're not sharing, of course, because it's being used to scare people, and we don't want to take part in that.
The regime didn't just export ideology, it exported terror. In 1994, Iran directed the AMIA bombing in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a country with no conflict with Iran. 85 people died and over 300 were injured. Argentina's highest court ruled in 2024 that Iran planned it as a crime against humanity, with Hezbollah carrying it out on Tehran's orders. The regime also carried out targeted assassinations of opponents abroad, such as former Prime Minister Shapur Bakhtiar in Paris in 1991, singer Feridun Farrokhzad.
From exile, Feridun Farrokhzad launched blistering attacks on Iran's hardline Islamic regime. Nearly 3 decades after his grisly murder in Germany. The crime remains officially unsolved.
What happened in Bonn in 1992, it's obvious that there is political pressure there, not to go into details.
But an RFERL investigation has uncovered documents that point to Iran's intelligence service. And a former Iranian spy reveals a possible suspect.
In Bonn in 1992, and the Mykonos restaurant massacre in Berlin in 1992, where Iranian agents killed Kurdish opposition leaders. The regime's hand in Syria, backing Assad's brutality. In Syria, Iran supported Assad for years with troops, money, and militias like Hezbollah that helped carry out brutal sieges and mass killings in cities like Aleppo and Homs. These tactics, starvation blockades, indiscriminate bombing of civilians, and attacks on hospitals were described by Amnesty International and the UN as possible war crimes and crimes against humanity, leading to thousands of civilian deaths.
From the start, Iran backed Assad.
Syria has really been Iran's only continuous ally since the 1979 revolution. And when the uprisings began, the Iranian regime was determined to do all in their power, both financially and militarily, to prevent the Assad regime from collapsing.
Once the violence began, Iran sent in money, weapons, and military advisors from the IRGC to help Assad crush the protests.
To Syria, violence and protest, will the government there buckle?
Regime's missile adventure. 4,000 kilometers, Europe now in reach. Since February 2026, Iran has launched hundreds of ballistic and cruise missiles, plus thousands of drones at neutral Persian Gulf, neighbors including Saudi Arabia's oil facilities, airports and hotels in the UAE, targets in Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and Oman, where civilians were killed. Even Azerbaijan with no involvement was struck. On March 5, 2026, Iranian drones hit Nakhchivan Airport and landed near a school. Gulf Defense Ministries report thousands of projectiles detected overall. the regime is pushing its reach even farther. In March 2026, Iran launched 2 intermediate-range ballistic missiles toward the remote Diego Garcia base in the Indian Ocean, over 4,000 kilometers away. Neither missile hit, one failed mid-flight, one was intercepted. But the attempt showed missile capabilities well beyond Iran's stated 2,000-kilometer limit. Analysts say this puts major European cities like Paris, Berlin, and Rome within potential range. With the IRGC controlling missile programs, their continued power makes such long-distance threats more dangerous and harder to deter.
And now we know their space program has produced a missile that can go 2,500 miles. So what does that mean? Let's take a look. 2,500 miles, it's the lighter lavender color. First off, what is now in target? I don't think they're going to be targeting Moscow, but it's now targeted. Obviously, all these states are going to be targeted and have been targeted. Now let's expand it a little. Look what goes 1,811 miles, 1,864 miles. You got the capitals of Rome, Munich, Paris, of Italy, Germany, and France. Suddenly they are paying attention, I imagine. Maybe it is their fight. And, of course, in London, where they've decided to just let their military wither. And then we have Oslo and Berlin. Besides that, I think every NATO capital is now under watch. No longer speculation. You can't say America's making it up, because we just watched 2 missiles go 2,500 miles. The first one went the length, knocked down. The other one failed, but was heading that direction. What else can I tell you? How about what the rocket looks like? I'm pretty sure this is not going to bring any astronauts to the moon, but this is what the rocket looks like that goes that far and that long. We know they've made great progress with drones. Now we know they made great progress with missiles.
Regime versus revolution, Iran's internal fight. And the country faces real opposition at home. Millions of Iranians have protested, nightly chanting, Javed Shah, long live the king, despite deadly crackdowns, while huge diaspora rallies have taken place around the world.
Huge crowds flooding the streets, blocking highways, chanting for change. Mass defiance from Iranians yearning for an end to their country's authoritarian regime.
But the fight isn't just in Tehran, it's global. When Reza Pahlavi called for the Global Day of Action on February 14th, Iranians abroad answered, Munich, Toronto, LA, everywhere.
People rallied in Munich as world leaders gathered in the city for the Munich Security Conference. The demonstrators are angry at the deadly repression of protests in Iran in January, in which thousands of people were reported killed.
350,000. That's how many people police estimate filled the streets of North York to fight for regime change in Iran.
Los Angeles is home to the largest Iranian community outside of Iran. On Saturday, thousands poured into the streets of downtown for the Global Day of Action, showing support for protesters inside Iran and calling on the international community to back up that solidarity with real action.
The transition plan, Reza Pahlavi's roadmap to free elections. Exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has emerged as a unifying figure with a clear transitional plan, the Iran Prosperity Project, to prevent chaos after the regime falls. His team of advisors has prepared a roadmap for the first months, restoring order, security, and services, dismantling repressive structures, holding a referendum on the future system, and rebuilding the economy. Millions inside Iran and abroad chant his name, showing broad support for a stable, democratic path forward, not a power vacuum.
Today we are not gathering to simply talk. We are here to present real work. To present the result of months of careful research, planning, and dedication by a team of some of the brightest Iranian minds working together for one purpose: Iran's rebirth. This is a project built not on slogans, but on solutions. Not on vague promises, but on detailed plans. Each white paper, each proposal is a step towards a free, stable, and prosperous Iran.
The real picture, facts, not feelings. You don't need to agree with everything, but here's the fact. Iraq and Iran are just not the same. Saddam never exported ideology or built proxies like the regime does. Inside Iran, the people aren't the regime. They're separate. pushing back. Here at ITI Inside, we don't bring you personal opinions, we just bring facts and talk based on them, nothing more. To learn more, follow the channel for more videos, because we're going to talk about recent events in Iran in our upcoming episodes. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Subscribe, like, share with friends. More coming soon.